Were you expecting Kenobi? I was expecting Kenobi. Everyone expects Kenobi, but we did not get Kenobi, but we got a pretty damn awesome special guest cameo in our last episodes of Maul Shadow Lord. And myself and Aaron are here to talk about it. Aaron,
Mhm.
let's just jump right in. This is the Star Wars Generations podcast. We have just watched the last two episodes. We're going to do a whole bunch of episodes wrapping up the whole show, but just these last two episodes. Vader, what do we think?
Vader, man. You know, something I was thinking about just before he started this is it's very interesting to me how when I watch Vader in animation, to me, that is Anakin. Like, I recognize the fighting style, just like the attitude, the way he holds himself, like that is Anakin. But when I watch live action Vader, it's like, oh, that's Darth Vader.
Interesting.
I don't know why it's kind of that way for me. And I mean, in Rogue One, it's a little different because he's extra sassy. In Rogue One, it's like, oh
Right.
yeah, that's Anakin. And obviously, some of that is because during the original series, Anakin wasn't a character yet.
Right.
Obviously, but yeah, I felt like the last episode was Anakin just like power maxing and aura
Yeah.
farming the entire time.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And I think part of that maybe you're right, because they just the performers who were playing Darth Vader in the original trilogy, and I say performers because we obviously had James Earl Jones doing the voice, and I think it's David something. I apologize, I'll put it in the show notes, but the actor who was physically embodying Vader, like they'd never seen Hayden Christensen. Hayden Christensen wasn't
Yeah.
born yet, I don't think, at that point. So, or no, he probably was, but anyway, I'm bad with math. But the point being, like, they weren't trying to emulate that performance. But I think the other thing, I think Rogue One kind of maybe is a little bit close to the line with this, but for all the others, all the animation ones, as you're talking about, they're all happening much earlier in Vader's story. By the time we get Vader in the original trilogy, he has been Vader for 19, 20 years. I think it's 19. And so, and also has been all that anger against himself for possibly killing Padme, or for against Palpatine and the Emperor for keeping him in this state, or for tricking him, or for all the different things that he's thinking of. All that's been building. And he's also been more and more killing Anakin in his mind, and being the idea of, I am not Anakin anymore. What we're watching in a lot of animation is him a lot closer to that. Like Rebels, he's been Anakin for maybe 15, he's been Darth Vader for like 15 years or so, but still it's not quite where the movies are. But in this, he's been Anakin for what, like a year and a half, 2 years?
Yeah, Vader, but
Or
yeah.
he's been Vader. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great point. I feel like sometimes it can be hard to keep track of the timelines throughout all the different shows and cameos and appearances and whatnot. But that's a really good point of like how Anakin might show through a little bit more in these earlier appearances of Vader than later on appearances.
What did you think of the choice to not have him speak at all? Like, in many ways, he wasn't a character. He was more like just a force of nature, it felt to me. Like, how did you feel about the way they presented him?
I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought one big risk always with bringing in, a big character like Vader or Sidious is, okay, well, we have to keep this as accurate to the character as possible. And I think the most difficult area to do that in would be dialogue.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a cool way to not really touch the character or mess with it that way. So there's not too much conversation about like, oh, why would he say this? Why would he think this? Da, da, da. Because that's not what the character is meant to do in this show. The character is meant to be a menacing figure to push Devin over the edge to the dark side. And that's exactly what he does. And he doesn't need to speak a word to do that. He just needs to be menacing, punch through some walls like an icon, and kebab her master.
Yeah. Kebab is unfortunately a very accurate term there. And I think that's right, especially because, at least the way I saw it, this is obviously a pivotal moment for Maul. This is a pivotal moment for Devin and for the Lawsons and for all of them. This is Thursday for Vader. Like, what he's doing during this time is training the Inquisitors and sending them out. And then when they don't finish the job, sometimes he'll get involved. And the only, and in terms of his voice, it's funny that you went to that idea of like what he would say. For me, it's more the fact of, once you become Vader, the voice has to be James Earl Jones. and James Earl Jones is
Okay.
dead.
Yep.
And yes, he did a number of sessions to make it possible for AI voicing to happen. And so at least it's happening with his consent. And they've done a little bit of that already, but
Mhm.
it feels like a lot of people I know, myself very much included, have expressed a lot of discomfort with the idea of hearing like new dialogue that's in James Earl Jones's voice that's AI created. And I have to imagine that was at least part of why they decided not to do it. You know, it was just like we'd have to either
Yeah.
recast or we'd have to do this James Earl Jones robot zombie thing, which Vader's kind of a robot, almost zombie, so it sort of works, but
Yeah.
still, like the only thing that I was kind of left wondering about, and I think I would love it if in a book or something they explored this, although, you know, I would love it if in like a book or something they explored this because I'm curious about it, but I think it was smart not to choose not to do it in this is what is Vader thinking during this time?
Mhm.
Because he has met Maul before,
Yeah.
only briefly, but you remember, like, you know, he pretty much his first like view of real danger as in terms of like other people trying to kill him with like laser swords and stuff was Maul coming at him.
Mhm.
And he didn't have much time with Obi-Wan with Qui-Gon, but he definitely had some time bonding with Qui-Gon, and then this guy killed Qui-Gon. And I, you could see that the part of what I thought was brilliant is there was so much rage and anger in Vader when he was fighting Maul that I think wasn't there necessarily. Like he was much more kind of like the tactician, you know, when he was fighting Daki and Devon. At
Yeah.
the end against Daki, he really kind of turned on the anger, but it felt like it was just very different when he was fighting Maul. I was frustrated because I wanted to know more about that, but I felt like it was the right decision not to. You know, I think if he had said
Yeah.
something like, "We met when I was a boy, and now I," like it would have been so wrong.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like that he didn't say anything. And yeah, it's interesting to pull that out how it's like, at the end of the day, Maul did kill Anakin's original master.
Right.
And sometimes I think I almost forget about that because there
Yeah.
is so much, especially in this show. We've been so steeped in lore about Maul that his appearance in The Phantom Menace feels further and further away the more that Clone
Right.
Wars and Rebels and other content comes out about him. Um, so yeah, I had kind of almost forgotten about that. So that's a great point of like Anakin could have this rage against, or Vader could have a rage against Maul because you killed my first master, and Maul can have this rage against Vader because you replaced me.
Yeah. Very much so.
Um, and going back to what you said kind of about James Earl Jones and his voice and whatnot, I think in the early quote unquote days of AI when they, when Carrie Fisher passed away and they were
Uh-huh.
using motion cap and some of her daughter and some AI
Right.
generated things and whatnot. I think it was a lot more, although I'm not going to say that was the best choice or performance out there. I think it was a lot more excusable and whatnot because it was new.
Uh-huh.
But as AI becomes so steeped in our society, I think it's really important for media and art, especially big companies like Disney,
Yeah.
to make the choice to not engage in straight up AI art.
Yeah. I think I
And
would
I
agree.
don't know if that went into the decision at all, but regardless, I respect that they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because more and more artistic jobs are in danger of becoming
Right.
obsolete due to AI.
I would totally agree with that. And in this case, it's not like they hired a voice actor instead of doing AI. They just said, we'll just not have him speak.
Yeah.
And so like I think that morally the choice they made is the correct one. I think they probably made it not out of any actual desire that like AI is bad, but so that people like us wouldn't be yelling and screaming about it on a podcast.
Yeah.
But I think that's a positive sign that but also because I think that if the scene had required him to speak and it just wouldn't work with him being silent, they would have. But the way it worked, no one was talking to him because
Mhm.
again, it, I like that Maul didn't know who he was, and like
Yeah, nobody
towards
knows who he is.
yeah, it was just like this thing, less than a person almost. You couldn't tell. Is this a droid? Is this a robot? Is this a cyborg? Like, what is he in some cool way?
Mhm.
And I like though that because if you remember, and I went back and watched these episodes in Rebels because I was stuck in an airplane and didn't have much else to do, but in the Twin Sons episode of Rebels and in some of the other episodes where Maul shows up in Rebels, Maul has figured out that Anakin is Vader. That Vader
Yeah.
is the person who was Anakin, and he's trying to tell people about it and warn them. And I like that Maul didn't like completely figure it out, and that's also a good reason why Vader wouldn't be like, "You hunted me when I was a kid," because then it would immediately be clear.
Yeah.
But I like that Maul already was starting to be like, "I felt this before. Like, I think I know who this is," because it
Yeah.
sets up what happens in Rebels so well.
Yeah, there was definitely like a touch of realization as the battle went on and on of like, oh my god, 2 and 2 is going together. What I was telling Ahsoka about came to fruition.
Yeah.
And I feel like that could even be more of a driving force of like, damn, I tried to get an apprentice to stop him before and that didn't work. So now I really need an apprentice because this guy's after me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved how I don't remember who said it. I only got to watch these episodes once instead of twice through, like I often like to do before the show. I can't remember if it was Devin. I think it was either Devin or Master Docky who said it, but partially through the fight, they were like, "You're not an Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Like you are something more." Maybe it was Maul that said that, and I'm misremembering, but I kind of feel like it was one of the Jedi. Who kind of like starts putting this together of like, yo, this is like 10 times harder. Also, like what you were saying about him using more technical fighting against Maul, I think that's really true. Because watching him fight Docky and especially Devin, like he is just fighting them with sheer force.
Yeah.
Like it's just the classic Vader in episode 4 swinging hard and slow just to like crush these people down.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Maul, yes, he is hitting him very hard. But I see what you're saying, and I agree that there's more technicality to it and a little more art to the saber fighting because he can recognize that, like, I can't use just sheer force to overwhelm this person.
Right.
And I think some of that might have to do with, like, okay, this person is also using the dark side, which is where you can tap into the most accessible rage and sheer force.
Right.
Whereas the Jedi, who are trying to attach to the or connect with the Force in a more pure way, maybe aren't able to, especially after hiding for all these years or however long it's been, maybe aren't able to connect and use that same amount of power.
Yeah. So you just did something amazing, which is you basically told me all the ways I was wrong, but didn't say that because I think you misunderstood what I was saying.
I think I did.
But I think you're right because I had been saying the reverse, that it felt like there was sort of more raw emotion in when he was fighting Maul. But I think you're right. There was also a lot more technicality with Docky and with Talon. I think sometimes it felt like he wasn't trying to kill Talon. And I had a moment of wonder. No, I'm sorry, not Talon. She's not Talon yet. Devin. I had a moment of wondering, like, wait, is Devin going to wind up being Vader's apprentice instead of Maul's? This could be really interesting. But I think you're right. And because even as I was saying it, I was like, wait a minute, does this actually line up? And one of the, I thought everything about the lightsaber fighting was completely awesome. Like just all of the shots of it.
Oh,
those
he
shots
jumped right into episode 10, but episode 9 too.
Episode 9's amazing. Those shots when we're focusing on Lawson, but in the back we just see the red and blue lights like going all over the place was truly incredible. But one of the moments that I thought stood out to me, and here you're right, it was, this is what I was thinking. I was like, actually, no, I'm wrong here. And you said it, you were correct, that he is tapping into that just like dark side for anger and rage energy. Is the moments before he kills Docky, he kind of has Docky half on the ground. Docky is just kind of trying to hold up his lightsaber, and he is just physically battering him until Docky is no longer able to keep his arm up. And in kind of a brilliant shot that you have to kind of look closely to see it, there's still a little bit of a blue glow. You know, Docky's lightsaber has not been knocked out of his hand. It's still on. He just doesn't have the physical ability to raise his arm anymore. And what it reminded me of, and I think it was very intentional, is Luke right before he chops off Vader's arm. It's that same overhanded, just bashing against your raised lightsaber. It was the exact same. And I thought that was just such a great way of highlighting, like, no, this is what Luke, this is that moment when Luke came really close. This is exactly what he was doing too.
Yeah, this is, like, not something new for Vader, like, he is a battering ram
Yeah.
when he's up against people who don't have the technical to fight back, and he can just use
Right.
rage and power.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. And I like the strategy there from Maul, of Maul realizing, and I think because this is when he's starting to figure out that it's Anakin, but him realizing this is a person who has fought as a Jedi. This is a person who
Mhm.
fights against Jedi, and he doesn't have to know he's a Jedi. He was a former Jedi to do that. He could just think this guy has just only fought Jedi. But that I think is also part of why the fight against Maul is different, because Maul is fighting as a dark side person himself as well.
Yeah, like, it's interesting, I hadn't considered that distinction while watching the show,
Hmm.
but I think if I went back and watched, especially these episodes more closely, I would notice some differences between how both the Inquisitors and Vader fight against Maul and his dark side versus the Jedi.
Yeah. I I'm not the one to do the frame by frame analysis, but I'm really looking. I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of TikToks of people doing that kind of high level analysis and also showing us the different forms that are being used and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I'm really excited to look deeper into that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure Master Daki uses the same fighting form as Obi-Wan. I don't
I
remember what it's called, but they had that same fighting pre-stance.
Yeah, that same, like, your hand is out and the blade is kind of horizontal to the ground above your
Yeah.
head. And
Yeah,
yeah.
with the guiding hand and then the blade over the head,
Mhm.
exactly.
Exactly, yeah. So in terms of, I want to talk about some of the character stuff as well, but
Mhm.
what was it like for you watching Maul and Daki and Devin all fighting together?
My god, it was so cool. Just like that one, you could take a screenshot of this perfect moment in episode 9 where it showed the two Inquisitors, Maul, Daki, and Devin all clashed against each other for just one moment, and they hold it for, like, a breath, and then
Yeah,
the battles go on. Oh my god, that was so cool. I was like, "That should be a screensaver." Like, that is going to be
for sure.
a picture that's hopefully gonna gain some
Yeah.
traction with the community because I thought it was beautiful, and maybe it's a little cheesy to have everyone pose together and pause in the middle of a fight, but I just thought it was visually stunning.
You know, to me, it's the equivalent of like, all of our heroes striding together in their most badass way. Like, it's a little cheesy and ridiculous, but it's still so damn cool. It's order
Yeah.
farming, and that's okay. And to me, the putting this all in this misty shot, like, they did so many great things. There were moments when, like, because of the mist, you could only see the glow of the lightsabers,
Mhm.
and the way Vader was introduced at the end of episode 9, of, like, you hear Rook, screaming in pain, and you're like, "Okay, this is Sidious or Vader. It's someone really high
Mhm.
level." I thought for a moment maybe it'd be Balin Scroll even, or, like, someone like that. But I was like, "No, it's
Wow.
probably one of these 2." He would be too young, I guess. He'd be way too young probably. But, and then just having, like, we just hear the breathing, and then that final shot of Vader with a lightsaber, and then all the mist turns red. Oh, so well done.
Ah, it was beautiful. I have to go back and watch these episodes a little closer to see if they included any of, like, the Imperial March or Vader's scene or
Mhm.
theme or, like, any music from the original trilogy, because I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but
They
yeah, that entrance was so cool.
they definitely did. I can't remember exactly when, but it was a couple of, like, I think when Vader came on, they definitely had his breathing first of all,
Yep.
and I think a couple of them was during episode 10 as well. It was really
Yeah.
well done.
Yeah, it was cool, and I loved how, like you kinda said earlier, they don't even know if he's a person at first, like,
Yeah,
when Rook dies, she, like, comes running and she's like, "There's something out there, not
right,
someone, there's something out there,"
right.
and then she gets, like, pulled back. I thought it was gonna be Sidious, and I was like, "Oh, no," because I was like, "This is." If it was Sidious, I would've been a little bit frustrated just because it's not very realistic that they would have
Yeah.
escaped Sidious, to be completely honest.
To me,
And
it
even Vader, like, Maul tried to let me pull the ceiling down on you, and Vader's like, "Cool, I'll just push it back up. Fuck you."
yeah,
Like,
was absolutely brilliant level. You're right that's not gonna work on Vader. Hold on, my phone is ringing. Let me
okay.
come on. I thought that was brilliant on a number of levels. One, I don't know if there's been other ceiling falling moments in the show before. I don't know if we brought this up, but that's actually a theme in a lot of the Legends canon books, in both Darth
Mm.
Plagueis and in the Darth Bane books. Uh, Apprentices kill their masters by pulling the ceiling down on them.
Yes.
And so I thought that was kind of cool that that's highlighted here. Vader being like, whatever, I'm just gonna throw pieces of it at you. I don't care. Was
Yeah, that was sick.
but also, yeah, this whole thing. First of all, I just want to say I totally agree with you about Sidious. It would not have made sense. I think Sidious just raffle stomps everybody here, including probably the Inquisitors, because he's like, "Why did you idiots? Why couldn't you
Yeah.
think yourself?" But also, I feel like it would make Maul feel too validated, because in Maul's mind, Sidious is like, he and Sidious are like great rivals, and they're gonna have this epic showdown. And Sidious is like, I don't even remember your name,
I don't even
like
think about you, bro.
it's. I think it would give Maul too much respect from Sidious for Sidious to show up. But back to the thing about like them not knowing what Vader is, part of what has me thinking that is that for Daki and Devin, they're probably not that far from. It's only been like 2 years since Jedi were fighting Grievous. So the idea of a lightsaber using droid is and granted, Grievous is not really a droid; he's kind of a cyborg.
Yeah.
But that's what Vader is too, and they don't really like so. And I think it's very intentional. I do think like Grievous was supposed to be kind of a middle point of the technology towards getting to where Vader is. And of course, the original version of Grievous wasn't a Force user in the same way. But yeah, I think that idea of like, is this another Grievous? Is this a droid? Is this something else? We don't know. It was just so well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved the way they presented Vader, because it's, I don't want to say rare, but I feel like oftentimes when Vader shows up, he is known by the people in the scene
Right.
in some way. And absolutely not a single character had any idea who he was. And that was so cool, so unique, I felt, and kind of different. Where it's not like, oh, well, he's a higher up, I've never met him, but he's like some magic guy. It's like, no, I don't know what this thing is, and this is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I loved how Master Daki, like, I think it was Daki, got like one lick in on Vader. He got one little like of his arm. And Vader was like, okay, fucking playtime's over. Let's go. Like,
yeah. No, you're right. I think because for a while it really had seemed like he was just like, Devin and Daki are distractions. I'm here to kill Maul. And at that point, he really went for Daki.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Daki's death, because I was wondering all along, how was clearly Daki had to die, and that was going to be the thing that pushed Devin over the edge towards the dark side. I think there was never really much doubt about that. But I always thought it was going to be really hard for them to pull off if Maul kills Daki, and then has to kind of keep it a secret from Devin. I thought the way they did this, of it is 100% Vader who kills him, but Maul does like just this little force push to stop Daki from getting away and to knock him kind of off balance a bit, that allows Vader to end the fight and to kill him. How'd you think about how that all played out?
I loved that. I liked how they kind of built the scene with Daki just repeating, "We're stronger together, together we can defeat this," da da da. And Maul being like, "Yeah, okay, bud," and then waiting for the perfect moment to be like, "Haha, fuck you," and like take his escape. Which also, like, Maul's got to do something about his bionic legs, because they are too weak to be out here like this.
Yeah.
Like, Vader's doing great as a cyborg. Maul, you got to step it up.
Yeah.
And now Spybot, oh, that fucked me up.
Yeah, we've not even really talked about all this stuff about like that jump over the river of toxic waste and stuff like that, but it was. I admit Spybot was starting to like lose his appeal to me, just in the like some of the like wahaha evil child thing was getting a little old, but it hit me hard when he died, and just that like master,
it's fucked up.
It reminded me so much of K2SO's death, where he like kind of calls out for to Cassian and is like, I've locked the doors, I hope you can get through. It was so rough. It was so rough.
Yeah, that was sad. And I liked how it seemed that Maul almost had a stronger reaction to Spybot's death than really any of the other people. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he does carry a certain pain when his fellow Night Brothers died,
Mm-hmm.
but he certainly exhibited a special kind of rage after Spybot was killed by the Inquisitor.
Yeah, I think it's very true. And I think it makes sense because I don't think it was ever explicitly said, but we know from a lot of the books that Maul made his own droids, including the droids
Okay.
that he used in the Phantom Menace. And so I think the implication was always supposed to be that he made Spybot.
Okay.
And yeah, so I thought that moment hit hard.
Yeah.
But back to Dockie's death because I
Right.
think that was
Sorry,
there.
I got
No,
super
no.
sidetracked.
Spybot. There's so much in these 2 episodes. I think we're going to be talking with them a lot. I thought it was really interesting and a good moment that we didn't actually see Vader kill him.
Yeah.
What we saw was him doing again that like knocking him down and pounding on his arm the way Luke would eventually do to Vader, so that he can't raise his arm to defend himself anymore. Then we cut to Devin recognizing her master is in lethal danger, and then we cut back and Vader has already stabbed Dockie.
Yeah.
What was your take on that?
I loved it. I liked it. I don't feel like every character needs an on-screen death.
Yeah.
And that's not like certain people don't deserve it. It's just like, I thought the emotional beats of this scene hit harder when she gets there and it's too late.
Yeah.
Like she couldn't even have tried something.
Right. Yeah. And I think part of what it does is that the emotional beat isn't Dockie's death, it's her reaction to it. That is because Dockie's a great character, and turned out he was not in good hands with Allstate. But I love that actor, and I hope we see him do more things. But I think the point wasn't how we feel about him dying; is how we feel about what happens to Devin. That brings me though to a question where either they did something really brilliant, or I just missed something, and I want to know what you think. Because so there we cut away and we don't see him die. We just see him. Well, we see him die, but we don't see him get stabbed. We see the aftermath of the stabbing, the kebabbing, as you so eloquently put it.
Mm-hmm.
So then later we have a moment where we don't see what happens, or at least I didn't, and I'm wondering if it's because they're using the same idea or I just missed something, which is that Devin is fighting. Devin has her blue lightsaber. Devin, I think, loses that saber for a bit.
Yeah.
And then she has this turn to the dark side moment. And at first, when she turned to the dark side, she's still fighting with her blue saber, but then it's kind of knocked away. And then later, we see her fighting with a red lightsaber. And I couldn't tell if it was because her saber had turned red, or it was because she had lost her saber and Maul had given her one of his. Now, we do show the hilt, and so I think that was supposed to tell us. Your facial expressions are telling me that it was supposed to be that Maul gave her one of his. Is that correct?
Yeah. So there was a scene showing that.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So basically, like, she sees Dockie's death, immediately has this burst of rage, and like any person using only rage and no thoughts to attack, immediately gets her shit rocked by the Inquisitor. Like, literally, my favorite, runs at him full tilt. He just steps back a touch and lifts his knee and goes directly into her gut. I was like, girl, you're not even thinking. So yeah, he, pushes her. Her lightsaber goes flying over the edge of a cliff. She looks to the side. Maul is hiding, but sees her and holds out his saber and then tosses it, and she force pulls it to herself.
Oh, I don't know how I missed that entirely. Okay, but that makes much more sense then.
Yeah, it's a short moment, but yeah, Maul gives her a saber, and then she goes against the Inquisitor with just his saber, and then he joins into that fight in a touch or two. However, I think in the transport, she was holding her own saber. I don't think that was Maul's. But I could be wrong.
But it wasn't ignited, right?
No, it was not.
Yeah. Because, we'd established in Acolyte, as well as in some other places, granted, it's not been entirely consistent, but that generally, like, you have to do something terrible while holding your lightsaber in order to kind of corrupt the kyber crystal and have it turn red. And I was going to think, like, I mean, she's getting revenge on the people who killed her master, and like that's not the Jedi way. But to me, that's not the kind of thing that would corrupt a kyber crystal.
Yeah, that's not the type to make it bleed.
Right. I mean, it's kind of what Obi-Wan did in Phantom Menace, but we don't talk about that as much. But granted, he wasn't as, I don't think he fell on the dark side there. But yeah, so like, okay, that makes much more sense because I wondered if they were trying to have it be this like mystery moment, but no, it sounds like it did. I just was on an airplane and missed it. And
Yeah,
you know, kind of like there's stuff that I think there's so much detail that's happening so fast. There's a lot of stuff we miss, but
for sure.
yeah. So what we've talked so much about the lightsabers and the force users. Um Mr. Lawson making his grand sacrifice.
Yeah. I thought it was a great way to end it. I've heard some people, I don't think it was, maybe you had these thoughts, but another friend of mine who was watching the show was just kind of like, yeah, like the character of Lawson's okay. It feels kind of played out, but meh. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I didn't really see it as that way, but I can understand how this character may feel repetitive to some people. And so I think having him do like a heroic sacrifice made a lot of sense because I don't know where his character would have really gone after that.
Yeah. I definitely hear that. I think I'm more almost kind of the reverse of that in that I still liked his character. I
I loved it.
Yeah, I thought there's some great stuff there, and I would like to see more where he and Two Boots went. I don't really care about the kid yet, and clearly the kid is supposed to be a character, and I don't really know where we're going with that. But I did think that his death, like I'm going to sacrifice myself for my son, that I think that was like kind of like the one moment of the show that to me was a like real cliche, and just felt like, okay, this is fine. It's not actively bad, but it does feel a little bit like, all right, you went for the kind of easy way out of doing this. You would like something a little more interesting.
Yeah, it definitely was. It harkens to like Rogue One or certain episodes of the Clone Wars, like Heavy staying behind to fight all the commando droids, or Captain Gregor when we first meet him staying behind so all the little aliens and robots can escape, you know. I think, I don't know if this is like a Star Wars, like growing up on the show, or just who I am as a person, but like a sacrificial death will always hit me, even if it's kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be like, damn, he loved his son so much. Like,
I mean, we've gotten it from the very beginning, no matter where you start, you know. Obi-Wan does that for Luke. Kanan does that at the end of Rebels in such this heartbreaking way. Like there's just so many times. I know, bring that one up.
It's messed up.
Yeah. It did feel a little off to me also that he's like, get my boy to his mother. Because like we've now seen just how bad the Empire is, and the mother is still pretty in bed with the Empire. And I think the implication is supposed to be that part of next season will be the mother kind of like breaking away from the Empire, or Riley having a real conflict with her. It felt a little like I would have liked to have seen some moment from his mother of like his mother indicating that maybe she's not going to be completely like 10 toes behind the Empire, given what's happening, in order for Riley's father to like feel like that. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Because here's the thing, is like you're sending your kid and your partner droid away with a crime syndicate. You really think they're going to be like, oh yeah, run along to your mother at the Empire? Fuck no.
Yeah.
So I feel like season 2 is going to be kind of following them on adventures to try and escape Crimson Dawn and see if they can make their way back to his mother and form contact and, you know, communicate with her what happened to Lawson, whether she'll believe them, you know. I think maybe it's just another way that they're trying to show us the realism of characters within the Empire. They could make that into a really cool thing, like how they have with some things, especially in Andor, I feel like with really humanizing empirical characters. So who knows? I won't say, like, I'd be lying if I said that's the storyline I'm waiting on the edge of my chair for. Like, I don't really care that much, but I'll watch it happily. I'm sure they can find ways to make it interesting. I mean, Vario's still alive too, so he's probably going to be around for that fuck shit.
Yeah, and Vario I think is a really fun character. I kind of wanted him to get back into his mecha suit from episode 1. Like, do
True.
you remember when it looked like he was this much bigger guy?
Yeah.
But I thought the whole thing of like I'm not short, I'm super tall or whatever.
I'm super tall. I'm super tall. That was hilarious.
It was kind of funny, especially because the whole reason he was doing the mission is that he wasn't like, to me it was all about like, no, it's good you're small. You're a small target.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
harder to hit. But I thought that was great. I did well, just as a last thing on that, are we keeping Riley around because Devin is going to get to start having like, oh, I can have attachments and I'm a teenager and there's going to be some flirting there? Like, why are we keeping a teenage boy around? That seems like the only possible reason because he's not a very interesting character so far. I'm not sure I really want that, but what's your thought there?
I raise you. Final test to the dark side is killing Riley.
Done. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
down. I'm down. That's fair.
That would be my fear. I don't see a romance or anything like that. Because I could see it being like Riley's around for a while and he's kind of the thing connecting her to the light.
Yeah.
Because he's caught up about Lawson's death and Docky's death. And he's,
Right.
like now he's the only quote unquote, he and Two Boots are the only quote unquote good guys left as main characters in this show. Like one can hope they escape and we get some cool adventures, but I could absolutely see Riley being used as a pawn to manipulate and further Devin's fall to the dark side.
Yeah. Okay, that I'm back on board with that one.
Okay, cool.
Last thing I wanted to bring up then, and this was I don't the fact that I'm ending with a critique makes that like to me, I think overall this was fantastic. This was to me only one sour note, and maybe you have a much better version of it, you can convince me. And this is in part just like why I'm always nervous about prequels is like with prequels, a lot of the time, unless you know, with prequels, a lot of the time, either you know that all the characters have to live because they show up in other stories, or with something like Rogue One, the fact that none of them are ever mentioned again tells you they probably all have to die. I'm curious to see what's the power struggle going to be between Dryden Voss and Darth Maul. Because clearly, by the time of Solo, things have kind of reversed somewhat. But I found that in that last big scene, I knew that Maul couldn't die, and that's kind of okay. I knew that Dryden and Maul were going to have this tense moment, but I also knew that Dryden couldn't die.
Yeah.
And I think I would have liked it a lot more if it was like one of Dryden's lieutenants who had been sent or something like that. Or Dryden had been kept a little bit more off screen and it was some other bigwig in Crimson Dawn. I think especially because they didn't get the same actor for Dryden to voice him.
It's not it's not Paul Bettany.
I'm pretty let me look that up quickly. Because it didn't sound like that.
Yeah, it didn't. I sat there for a second being like, wait, who plays Dryden Voss? Because I can't remember. I was thinking to myself, like, is this the same voice actor? Yep. And I had kind of convinced myself maybe it could be him because if it is another actor, they did an okay job of mimicking some of his, like the way he speaks, the cadence of his voice maybe. But
give me 1 second. Okay, I'm going to start that whole thing again. And especially because they didn't even have the same voice actor. Paul Bettany played him in live action, but they didn't have him be the voice actor in this. It was Scott White, who I think you're right, did a pretty good job, but there were just a couple phrases that you could tell it was different. It kind of made me wonder, why did we need this? Because if it had been someone else, I think it would have done a much better thing of like setting up, maybe they could die. Maybe, it was one more person who didn't have that plot armor of, we know they show up again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I'm honestly surprised that they didn't get Paul Bettany just because he's done so much with Disney and Marvel.
Right.
And yeah, it's an interesting choice to recast him because I feel like since he, to me at least, the first time I heard that voice was Jarvis.
Yep.
And I will never unhear Jarvis. And so his voice is so recognizable.
Yeah.
That it is a bummer. And it makes sense that we both were like, something feels a little weird. And that it was a recast voice. Yeah. I definitely see what you're saying about the plot armor. How I kind of read the situation is Voss is like, ha ha ha, I'm playing you. I get you off planet. You give me a job. It's like, you are forgetting this man could kill you with a snap of his fingers.
Right.
He's going to go back to Crimson Dawn. He's going to murk your boss and then be like, okay, now you work for me or I force choke you out.
Right.
Like, I just don't think, as much as Voss wants to believe he has power in that moment, and he, kind of does, as far as like hand to hand, although we saw Voss like really step it up against Han and Kira, I just don't.
He's not taking on Maul. Yeah.
He's not taking on Maul. Yeah.
And I guess that's what I mean is that because we know that he doesn't just go back and kill Voss, because 8 years later, there's still, or 6 years later, whatever it is, the math's hard, but he's still going to be there. And it does make me want to rewatch the end of Solo, because my feeling had been that Voss was in charge of Crimson. I'm sorry. My understanding had been from the end of Solo that Voss is one of the main leaders of Crimson Dawn, but Maul is already at the top of the heap.
Yeah.
I now want to go back and wonder, is actually the implication supposed to be that that Maul was working under Voss, but that this all worked as part of a plan that Maul had with Kira to like find a way to take down Voss so that Maul could take over. That I think would fit better with this, but either way, I just think they could have done it without Voss and had it leave some more things open. But
yeah, no, I agree. I see where you're coming from for sure. It was an opportunity where they could have introduced a new character that was more disposable and left more tension maybe between the characters.
That being said, if Voss is a major character in season 2, I'm sort of torn on that, because I think watching the two of them, jockey for position would be fun, but of course we know that neither one's going to die. But I do really hope they get Paul Bettany back, because you're right. Like, Paul Bettany he's been so connected. I'm sure he's done things outside of it, but two of his biggest roles have been within the Disney oeuvre of either Marvel or Star Wars. And as you said with Jarvis, like, he's done voice acting for a long time. And, some people might be like, well, I used to be a voice actor. Now I'm a physical actor. I don't want to go back. But he also, I know that Vision and I think even Jarvis have appeared in some of the animated Marvel stuff, like What If. So he's clearly gone back. He's been happy going back to voice acting.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's why I was a little surprised when you confirmed that it was a different actor playing it.
Yeah.
Because I just kind of assumed like, oh, he's a Disney guy. He always does the Disney stuff, even the cartoons.
Yeah.
But I guess he wasn't available or not down. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And again, like I thought Scott White did a good job of coming pretty darn close.
Oh yeah.
And obviously, like, all of animated Star Wars has been, for the most part, new people voicing what had been live action roles. It's not like this has never happened before. I think it's just, as you said, Paul Bettany's voice is so distinctive.
It is.
That it kind of felt like I wish it was actually him.
It's a little harder to replace for sure, or recast rather.
All right. I've been driving the bus this whole time. You take over the wheel. What are the last things you want to mention? Particular points, particular quotes? Hit me.
Inquisitors. That's what I want to mention. I think it'll be interesting to see if the Inquisitors are featured in season 2, if Marok comes back. But I liked how he just got like force pushed off a cliff.
Yeah.
And it kind of left open, the conversation we had earlier of, okay, well, does Marok die? And he's completely resurrected in the Ahsoka series. Does he not die?
Is it Merrick?
I don't know.
Okay. You could be right. I thought it was Merrick, but either way. Anyway, go on.
It could be. It just looks like it's spelled Marok, and I play with him in the Star Wars game more than I watch visual media where they say his name, so I just say it a different way. But yeah, it could be Merrick. Anyways, I kind of like that. And then the more we see, I'm so glad they brought back the Crow, or I think maybe the 11th brother is his official title, but the character that Ahsoka kills and then restores his crystal to make her own lightsaber. I love that we're seeing more of him because his character design is just so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And this moment, where the Inquisitors were backed up, and it was just them against Devin while Maul and Daki were fighting Vader kind of in the background. They had told her to run ahead. And Devin's like, God fucking damn it. Like, okay, here we go. And the Inquisitors take a beat. And then when they rush at her, the Crow like screeched. There was like a bird battle cry. I was like, I freaked out. I was like, that's some of the coolest shit I've seen in a minute. That
Yeah.
was I loved how menacing the Inquisitors are in this, because I felt like although they were menacing in Rebels, they were so common as foils to
Mhm.
Ezra and Kanan that they were relatively beatable, or
Yeah.
at least escapable. So I like seeing them in the context where they feel more menacing, and where for the first 8 episodes of the series, they were the bad guys.
Yeah.
They were the big bads with the lightsabers who are hard to fight. And we even see Maul struggling against them. So I like that they carried more weight to me in this show than they have in
Yeah.
other shows.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And I said earlier that I wanted to see them do the helicopter trick.
Mhm.
I have heard many people say that the helicopter trip seems a little bit too silly and kind of takes away from their power, it seems. I don't want to believe that, but they didn't do it, and they definitely seemed more powerful. That's not enough for causation, but I'm kind of leaning. I think I understand the argument. But you're right. I thought they were much more, they weren't characters. They were forces of nature like Vader was. And part of why we're having this discussion, I'm pretty sure neither Merrick nor Marak is ever said during this show.
No,
I'm
it's
pretty sure
not.
the
Yeah.
Crow or the 11th brother are words that are never said during the. I think they may have mentioned him as the Crow once, just because that's how they're described, because of his face.
Mhm.
But
No, it's never said in the show. It's just in the subtitles
yeah,
or on the Wikipedia that I found that.
yeah, I think you're very true, and yeah, I think that's very right, and just everything about them, the fact that they barely talk to each other, and when they do, it's just about the mission. Like we know nothing about them.
Yeah.
It was also well done, and it does make me wonder what's going to happen next, because obviously this was a hard fight. And like if I was the coach, if I was their leader, I'd be like, yeah, you guys got beat. You didn't succeed in your mission, and I'm annoyed about that, but I understand why. You were up against a challenge.
Yeah.
Vader is not very good on, well, you didn't do what I wanted you to do, but you were up against a hard fight. It's okay. Um, ask a couple of generals and admirals how good he is at that. And I've always got this. I think in the past, when Vader has had to show up, there's sometimes been a like, you idiots, you're not supposed to call me. You're supposed to be able to do this yourselves. It's not going to go well for you that I had to come in and like clean up your mess. The fact that Vader couldn't clean it up either, he might be like, I'm not going to kill you for failing in something that I failed to do too. But I am kind of curious, like, yeah, is Merrick dead, and thus he's not going to be brought back until the Night Sister do something with him and he becomes Green Ghost Man, Green Gas Ghost Man, or whatever. What's going to happen to the Crow? Like, I'd be very curious how Vader is going to feel about the fact that first Merrick, and then Merrick and Crow, and then all three of them failed in their mission.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting. I hope we see the characters back. At least the Crow. I just love that character.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and actually, the more I think about it, that could also be in a lot of the Legends canons. I think there's a couple of different versions of the story, but there's fairly early on, Vader fails at something. And that's why like Tarkin winds up becoming more like the right hand man of the Emperor than Vader. Again, there's a bunch of different versions of this, but like that's part of why by like the time of A New Hope, as they say, like Tarkin is holding Vader's leash, and that by Rogue One, Vader's kind of like just on Mustafar, like just doing his own thing, and it's in part because he disappoints the Emperor. I wonder if that's what this is, or that there's going to be some element of this. Like, I don't think it could be that and last 15 years till Mustafar and that, but I do think it'd be interesting if like Sidious is kind of disappointed with Vader because of this, because he couldn't do it, and is that going to have implications?
Yeah, that's an interesting way to see it. I kind of, being more familiar with the animated stuff than I am live action, typically, it's something that I hadn't really thought about for a while, is that like, yeah, Vader's kind of like in the doghouse when we first meet him. They froze. Matthew, please. Tell me your internet didn't fail again.
My internet failed for a second, but I'm back.
Okay.
Okay. I was literally holding my phone to text you like, we're done. You don't have to do a whole thing. By the way, again, you did fucking amazing. That
Thank
you
you.
did like 20. all on your own. It was so good. I was so proud of you. So thank you again so much for that.
Yeah. We just need to do the closing. So close, yet so far. Haven't I passed the test? When will you realize? Baby, and I like the risk. Okay.
All right, just one more time. I'm gonna wrap up quick. All right. Well, there's so much more we can say, but we're almost in an hour. It's much longer than these episodes normally are. Erin, thank you so much for all of this. To our fans, we're gonna do a lot of feedback episodes and stuff like that. So send us your questions, send us your thoughts. We want to hear it. I'm gonna have myself and Erin and Alex, who couldn't be here, but we'll be here soon. Thank you all so much for being a part of this journey. We have spoken.
Stay classy, Janix. All right. I'm ready.
I'm steady.
Let's go, Freddie.